Welcome to the 7th episode of the Enter Filter podcast, the podcast for the mentally ill, the girls, gays, and theys, and those who just feel a little insane. I'm your host, Shannon.
And I'm your host, Alison.
And today we're going to be discussing relationships with food when it comes to a fitness journey, our personal relationships with food, and the nutritional side that we kind of go on with our clients. But first, I know you've had an absolute hell of a week. So should we start with our weekly little check-in?
Yeah, the weekly check-in.
Alrighty, lay it on me.
The weekly check-in. So I've got good news and bad news. I'll start with the good news.
We love starting with good news.
We love starting with good news because the bad news is bad. I will tell you that. The good news is I've been living in this apartment for almost 2 years to the date. It's 272 square feet. It drives me fucking nuts. It was supposed to be 650 square feet, and I signed for it while I was living in Ecuador. And it's so my bed and my couch are 4 to 6 inches away from each other. So last week, I've been looking for apartments for a while, and I finally found one. And I applied for it. That morning, something happened, which I'll explain next. But I applied for it, and it was a whole weird thing. Usually I have to get my mom to co-sign on apartments with me. And I actually got approved for it. And I signed the lease yesterday morning. Sorry. And on top of that, there's this reading chair that I've wanted my entire life. Well, not my entire life, but for the past 10 years, I've wanted it. And yesterday I went and bought it. And it was a big moment. I went in there and I told them I've been wanting this chair for 10 years. I want it so badly, and I ordered it. It's custom fabric. And it should be here in 10 to 12 weeks, hopefully. The bad news, which I haven't talked about on Instagram because I feel it's just not something that I feel comfortable, is the morning that I went to go see my apartment, or the day I went to go see the apartment, this girl from high school messaged me and told me that her cousin, my friend, had overdosed and died.
Oh.
And he has been struggling with addiction and mental health for a long time. And it wasn't surprising to me, but I didn't know he was even living back in Ottawa, and he, I guess, had moved back when I had moved back, but I didn't know that he was struggling. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to not that anyone listens to these, but so Friday was horrible. Yes, or a couple days ago. I look like shit if you're watching on YouTube, because it's been a really rough past week. I went to his funeral, and on the whole way there, I was just bawling my eyes out. I couldn't stop crying because I was thinking it could have been me. I was very suicidal on Monday, and we had met each other when we were younger. We played on the same hockey team and in the same hockey league because I played boys hockey growing up. But we didn't really we weren't friends when we were young. But I think after high school, I started when I was in business school, I started a clothing company called Cured 2. And we kind of reconnected around that time and hung out a bunch. And he had bought a sweater and a hat from me. And I got to the funeral, and I walked into the viewing and saw his mom, and I was like, "Hey, Barbara, I don't know if you remember me." She was like, "Allison," and I was like, "Yeah." And I said, Jamie and I played hockey together, and we reconnected when I had started my business. And she said, "I remember Cured 2." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Jamie still has your hat hanging in his room, and he died in his room."
Oh.
Sorry. Sometimes I laugh at inappropriate times when I'm uncomfortable. But that just I fucking bawled my fucking eyes out. And the funeral was hard, but when I had gotten there, I met up with his cousin came and found me, Kelly. And she was like, "You can stick with me. I know you're overstimulated, blah, blah, blah." And she's really smart. I think she's definitely neurodivergent. And her and I connected like really well. We went to the same high school, but we were never friends. And we were talking and she was like making all these really like inappropriate jokes, and I vibed with her and I was like, you're so fucking cool. Like, I want to be friends. And I was like, I don't really remember you much in high school. And she said, you bullied me. And I just broke down and started fucking crying. And I said, what did I do? Like, what did I do? And she was like, you made comments about my weight. And I just started crying and I was like, I'm so sorry. And now you feel like you have to comfort me when I'm the one who hurt you. She was like, honestly, she's like, it doesn't matter. It was a long time ago. She was like, you're a different person now than you were back then. Like, that's very clear to me. And it was just 2 comments, like, and I was just like, I'm so deeply sorry. And her and I sat together at the funeral. And I just felt very connected to her. I was like, oh my God, like, we're going to be best friends. I fucking love her. She's so fucking cool. So the funeral ends and we go out into like the reception area and we start eating food, and immediately I'm like, my brain shifts to like, okay, binge eat. Like, if there's funeral sandwiches, there's gluten. I was like, fuck it, like, I'm just gonna fucking eat. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm gonna go to the gym and train legs after. It's gonna be fine. So I start piling a fuckload of food onto my plate, like 3 sandwiches, like 5 slices of cheese, just like a bunch of shit that it's not that I'm not supposed to eat it, but it wasn't on my plan. And also it's gluten. So we're sitting there and her husband's pretty silent. I just met him and I hadn't seen her in like 10 years. And this woman comes up to me and I recognize her, but I can't place her. And she says, hey, Allie, like, I don't know if you remember me. And there were a couple guys at the funeral who we all played like hockey with because that's how we kind of knew each other when we were younger. And she said, I'm Elliot's mom. And I said, oh yeah. Cause she was like, you don't remember me. And I was like, no, I remember your face, but I can't place you. And she said, I'm Elliot Galpin's mom. And I kind of like froze and I looked behind her and I saw Elliot's dad. Elliot and I played hockey together. We were on the same team several times. And I had like briefly dated him around 10 years ago. And I had gone to his cottage and his dad was there and I just froze. And the next thing that I said was, and I called you to tell you after because I was so fucking overwhelmed. The next thing I said was, are you guys are still married? And Callie looked at me, her husband looked at me, they looked at me and they were like, what the fuck? Like, you can't just say that. And they walked like, and I froze. Like, his dad, Albert, said hi to me. I didn't really respond. I didn't really say anything else. I know they said a few things to me, but I can't like process or didn't really remember what they were saying. And they walked away. And Kelly was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you can't say that. And she was like, if anyone ever questions if you're autistic, just tell them about this. And I said, why is that not okay? Like, I don't understand. And she was like, it's just really rude. And I was like, why is it rude? And she said, it just is. And I said, well, I asked because 10 years ago when I was dating his son, he fucking groped my ass and he was really drunk. And his son had to force, like, literally put himself in between him and my dad. Or, sorry, his son literally had to place himself in between his dad and I because his dad would not stop trying to fucking grope me. And everyone thought it was really funny. So I didn't realize how much it affected me. And at the time I was like modeling, I was anorexic and super skinny. So I kept passing out all the time and I was at the cottage and it was like early in the morning, like 5 a.m. I took a shower because I couldn't sleep. And in the shower, I passed out and hit my head. And then I got out and the same thing happened. I passed out and I hit my head. So later that morning, after I woke up, I had said to everybody, oh my God, guys, like, I passed out twice, it was horrible. And his dad said verbatim, I wish I would have been there to rescue your naked, wet body lying on the bathroom floor. So to me, when and everybody laughed. So I never thought it was like, I never really processed it. I never thought it was serious, but I realized in that moment, like, I froze and I was confused because I was like, what the fuck? They're still married. They've been together for like 20 years. This man had hit on my mom at hockey tournaments. He had hit on me. He had fucking sexually assaulted me. And I'm fucking rude for asking if they're still married when he fucking groped me when I was literally 20, like basically still a fucking child by comparison to him. And it pissed me the fuck off because here I am. I feel like I've made this new friend. I'm at my other friend's fucking funeral. Everything is heated as fuck. I didn't want to go to the funeral because I don't like loud noises. I don't like people touching me. The second I got there, I was dysregulated as fuck. I'm in line. People are standing so close to me. I can feel them breathing on me. There's like this fucking cacophony, a million different sounds, and I'm just like, it's very emotionally heightened. It was horrible. And then on top of it, to see him, just like, I panicked. And Kelly's husband was like so embarrassed by what I had said. I said, like, I excused myself. I grabbed my shit, went to the bathroom. I sat in the bathroom on the toilet for 15 minutes. My fucking dress went into the toilet. So when I stood up, it was all wet, but I didn't know what to do. I went on ChatGPT and I was like, why is it rude to ask people if they're still in a relationship? And it explained it, but to me, like, I still didn't see it as being a weird thing to ask because I hadn't seen them in a long time. So to me, it was valid. It was also valid because, like, he clearly cheated on his fucking wife by groping me. But anyway, so that's what the fuck has happened with me in the past week, amongst trying to deal with fucking suicidal ideation, and Father's Day was difficult for both of us. I've binge ate the past 2 weekends in a row. But I think Father's Day for you must have been substantially harder, which is the last time that we recorded. So I'm wondering, like, what's it been like for you? What's this past week been like? Like, what's been going on? Because you also just got back from a girls' trip like 20 minutes ago.
I was about to say, girl, Father's Day is always a fucking shit show. Okay. I literally like had recorded myself and I was gonna post it on TikTok, but I waited. And I was genuinely, the day prior felt like I was going to be fine. And I do this every year. It's been 5 years. If you don't know, my dad is dead. In a very, very, it was just terrible, all around awful. But regardless, I was filming a video, kind of talking to myself, saying, like, I can't believe I do this every year where I think I'm going to be okay. And I make all these plans and I make all these, like, I'm like, it'll be a distraction. I'll distract myself in a healthy manner. And then the morning comes and I'm a hot mess. I think I sobbed for 2 hours before filming that podcast. I'm very much someone who self-isolates when shit gets wonky. And if you're not up to date on my social media pages, if you didn't know, this past April, I had to put my dog down. Her name was Coco. And the same night I got cheated on. So when I went through Father's Day, that was the first Father's Day I've ever experienced without having Coco. I got Coco in October of 2019. My dad died October of 2018, and my dad died in 2019. So this entire week, I've been pretty much in a low, for lack of better terms, just feeling very suicidal. Like, literally on the drive here, I started crying, and over no reason. Like, the tears just started pouring, and I had to like self-talk myself out of it and be like, you're safe, you're okay. My best friend, she lives in Raleigh, so I went down there to visit her, and that's where I'm from. And it's just very traumatic going back because I remember, especially like my sophomore year, so my dad had a stroke, one that I found him unresponsive during. So I had come back from brunch with my grandma and my aunt, and he was completely unresponsive, and I had to start CPR. I called my mom to come over. She called 911, and obviously they kicked us out of the house when they got there to like start emergency services. So even like the drive back from Raleigh is a lot because when my dad had his stroke, he was given 72 hours to regain some form of like brain activity, or else they would pronounce him brain dead. My dad woke up on the 70th hour. So they put him through a bunch of rehab stuff. He did not pass. My dad was pretty much a paraplegic at that point. He could not talk. He could not walk. He could not do anything for himself. And we had to put him in a nursing home at the age of like either 55 or 56. And so that year, like when my dad was in a nursing home, my dad was in a nursing home for exactly a year and a week to date. And I would drive home every weekend to like just go sit with him and just go see him. So Father's Day is already very traumatic for me. It's only been 5 years. I don't know why in my brain I think that means it's been a lifetime and I should be fucking healed over that shit. Obviously I'm fucking not. And doing this without, I mean, I have another dog, so Love him. He's a hot mess, but he was very much there for me. But doing this without Coco for the first time, I was like crying, dying. So it's tough. This week, like, I mean, minus that, just kind of going through the waves of grief and processing yet again the fact that my dad is dead, um, it's just heavy. It just leaves me feeling really heavy and emotionally exhausted. Um, so that's tough. And then it's also July 5th is his fucking birthday. So I've got about 2 weeks to like really get myself together just to fall apart again. And I cannot wait. I can't wait. I love it here.
But I feel like that's so BPD. Like, I'm the same. My dad's not dead, but I kind of wish he was.
Might as well be.
Might as well be. No, literally, this guy who's at my gym, like, he's definitely like also autistic, and he came up to me last week, and he always tries to talk to me, and I don't really want to talk to anybody at the gym. And he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm just like, I always try to be polite. I'm like, "Hey, like, how are you?" He was like, "How was your weekend?" I was like, "Oh, like, not great." Um, he was like, "Oh, how was your Father's Day?" And I said, "Father's Day was not good. I do not have a dad." And he said, "Oh, is he deceased?" And I said, "No, but like, he doesn't." I forget what the fuck I said, but I was like, "No, but like, he doesn't want me in his life." And he was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Yeah, I would not like to talk about this anymore. So have a great workout." Gave him a props, and I was like trying to send him on his way, as I tend to do, because I just don't want to, like, I just don't want to fucking deal with it. But it's weird how you always think you're going to be fine, but that's how we are, especially as BPD girls. Like, we're fine until we're not, and it's a switch. It's so fast. And I'd been doing so well on this cut. And when I first started this cut, if you guys don't know what a cut is, it's being in a caloric deficit because you're trying to lose fat. Like, Shannon and I both do hypertrophy and strength training because we want to improve our physiques and we want to improve our strength. And when I started this cut, I was really worried because I'd been eating intuitively, like bulking / recomping. Bulking is when you're eating in a caloric surplus, so you're consuming more energy than you're expending. But I was also kind of recomped because I wasn't, and recomping is kind of eating at maintenance level calories. Because basically, when I tried to reverse diet last year, it didn't work. And I put on 14 pounds in 10 days. So I kept the weight pretty consistently over the next 5-6 months, but just kind of lost fat and gained muscle. And when I started this, like, I had been pretty much like eating intuitively for the last like 4 or 5 months, and I was really scared to start tracking again. And it has gone pretty well to a degree. Haven't really been binging much, but Father's Day, I also thought was going to be fine. I was like, there's no way, like, it's going to be completely fine. And then leading up to it, I just was experiencing all this stress, and I was like, I think subconsciously that's what it is. And I binge ate like a motherfucker, and then kind of reset on Monday. Friday comes along. It's Jamie's funeral. I went and ate a bunch of food at the funeral, and then I left to go train legs, and I thought that I'd be able to do it. And I was doing like T-bar good mornings, and I just couldn't get even like 2 or 3 reps before I had dropped, and I just kept crying and crying and crying, and I could not stop crying. So I called this pizza place called Heartbreakers Pizza. And I was like, "Listen," I was like, "I know you guys are fucking swamped." I was like, "My friend just died. Can you just make me a fucking cheese pizza? Can I come pick it up?" And they were like, "You can do it in 45 minutes." I was like, "Slay." Left the gym, didn't fucking train legs, got my pizza, driving there, bawling my fucking eyes out, like, couldn't stop crying, got the pizza, came back to my apartment, binge ate, had sushi also the night before, so I had leftover sushi, and I just ate and ate and ate. And usually when I binge eat, like, it's to the point where I feel sick and I'm gonna fucking die. And I was able this time to recognize my hunger cues and be like, "Okay, you're full." But then I stopped eating, and then it kicked into me. I was like, "Bitch, you're poor. You just spent $30 on pizza. Like, you can't waste this." And I was like, "Okay, well, we have to finish it. You know, can't be wasteful, you know?"
Do that all the
And
time.
yeah, and then the next day, I went, and my friend had given me a gift card to get coffee, so I got coffee, and then I was like, well, very like binge eating is so very self-sabotaging, and as somebody who has dealt with like both sides of the eating disorder spectrum, it's so hard because I have been 115 pounds at 6 feet tall, and I've been close to 200 pounds at 6 feet tall, 6'1". And it's funny because you and I both, you're a PT, I'm a coach, and we're both on Instagram, and we see lots of content. And one piece of content that I see all the time that I see dietitians stitching is basically like people talking about how skinny shaming isn't okay. No, body shaming is okay. I just want to start with that. That's very important to start with. Body shaming, not okay. But that being said, as somebody who has been fucking anorexic, eating disorder, level skinny, and binge eating disorder, skinny shaming is not the fucking same as fat shaming. I'm sorry, it's not. I think that both present, I guess, hardships to a degree, but from a societal standpoint, like, there's no fucking comparison because one is congratulated by people and the other is you're disgusted with them. And it's something that is ingrained in all of us. It's hard not for it to be because we see fucking millions of advertisements every single day. And especially being in the fitness and nutrition space, like, that's just what we see. And it takes a lot of work to kind of like undo that mindset, but it's hard. I think everybody, and we talked about this before, everybody interprets and deals with things very differently from one another, but it's just not the same for you to deal with skinny shaming as it is for somebody to deal with fat shaming. There's just no fucking comparison from a societal standpoint on how we view skinny and lean people versus people who are overweight or who are fat. Like, there's just absolutely no fucking comparison. It's way harder to be fat than it is to be skinny. It is. I said it. I stand on that shit.
I think I agree, right? Like, I think just kind of like tidbit of information. I got into everything that I'm into now, like the fitness realm and like being a certified personal trainer, because obviously I myself went on my own fitness journey. But I've had failed attempt after failed attempt after failed attempt because I was struggling with an undiagnosed eating disorder, which started in high school. And I would, again, I'm not diagnosed, but I would classify it back in high school as anorexia. I ate one meal a day. I overtrained. I did 2 hours of cardio. And that's because I was bullied for existing in a bigger body. Keep in mind, in high school, I didn't weigh over 160 pounds. I was a healthy teenage girl, maybe a little bit on the thicker side, but I was healthy. And I got bullied so bad in all throughout my entire growing up. And usually it was a lot about like my weight, but also like my home situation, which is just so fucked. I'm sorry. Kids are fucking evil. Kids are fucking mean. They'll always be mean. And like I was picked on for stuff I couldn't control. And I hated myself by the time I reached high school. I hated myself. So went down this whole eating disorder path of starving myself. And I got to a point where I still thought I was so fat. And I look back at like pictures and videos of me back then, and I'm smaller than I was now. So I got to college, and I think I might have talked about this before, but I did the keto diet with my dad. Fucked my hunger cues up. I mean, my family thought I was struggling with bulimia because I'd get up 3 times in a meal, and they thought I was throwing my food up. And really, what it was I had just starved myself so long that my body was not processing nutrients the same way anymore. I cut out a whole macromolecule. Not a good idea. This is your sign. Don't ever fucking cut out carbs. Please don't. Like, just
No.
don't do it. If you're gonna cut back on anything, don't let it be carbs. Just focus on a well-balanced nutrition, please. Because I will suffer for the rest of my life. I know me and you have talked about this, TMI. My booty hole will never be the same. Bitch has morphed into a whole new hole. Never will she be the same. And like, hear me out. I'm so self-conscious of it now. Like, they be back there and I'm like, don't look at her. Don't make eye contact with her. I can feel them making eye contact with her. And I'm like, stop. Switch right now.
I don't know.
But
I don't think that that's just a you and your asshole thing. I've never liked that. Like, I literally, if I'm being bent over, I will place my fucking hand on my asshole because I'm like, don't look at it.
Don't
Don't.
look at her.
Don't. And when I was young, my mom got me like laser removal and they were like zapping me. They were like, "Do you want us to get your tail feathers?" I was like, "What's that?" They're like, "Oh, your asshole hairs." I'm like, "Didn't know I had hairs there." Anyway, so they fucking zap them. Now I have asshole hairs. I'm like, should I let them grow? Should I braid them? Like, should I create a barrier so that the fecal matter can't escape
Okay,
through my
completely
fucking
unrelated,
asshole?
but I saw this video one time and it was like referring to like why girls should like shave or like get rid of the hair in their asshole. And they compared it to like picking up dog poop on concrete versus it up out of grass when it comes to wiping.
I'm screaming. Well, you know what, bitch? I have a
And like
fucking
that lives
tushy.
rent free in my head. Like it lives rent free back there.
My asshole stay clean, okay? It's
Period.
yeah, period. And I've been using diaper wipes for my whole fucking life because sorry, you're fucking weird for that if you don't, or if you don't have a fucking tushy, if you don't have a fucking water shooting into your asshole stream, because guess what? You're walking around with shit on your asshole. If you don't, and as somebody also, like, I had IBS for years because I didn't know I was fucking gluten intolerant. So every time I ate gluten, every time I ate, I'd be shitting my fucking brains out. And as soon as I switched to gluten free after like some crazy ass shit that I won't get into now, my fucking bowel movements have been so like too legit to quit.
Yeah.
But, I also did fuck up my digestive system because of my eating disorder. When I was 13, I started modeling because, babe, like when you're fucking 5'10", and you're like 105 pounds, baby girl, when you're 13, like that's giving runway fucking shit. And when I started, the first thing that they told me is because like my ratios have always been smaller waist and quite large hips. And even at 13, it was a problem. I had no breasts, but goddamn, I did have hips. And by goddamn I had hips, I didn't have big hips, but for high fashion like Paris runway, I did have big hips. So they always had said to me like my whole thing with why I didn't go anywhere really with modeling was because my fucking bone structure just wasn't made for high fashion runway, and my hips were literally just 2 inches too big. And I remember at 13 asking my mom, can I get a surgery to shave down my hips? Like imagine at 13. And I had no really like issues with body image before that. Obviously people made comments about, how skinny I was, but again, like sorry I'm fucking skinny, like it's not that deep for me. And when I was 13, I started modeling, I went into high school, and it was the same. Like I just stopped eating. It was so fucked. I would have like a couple olives a day. I doubt that I was eating more than like 200 calories a day. Like it was actually fucked. And my friend and I both had eating disorders, and we were constantly in competition to see who could eat the least amount, which was fucked, obviously. And, I had to stop modeling because I couldn't get my weight down. And then it kind of morphed into, well, if I didn't understand how nutrition worked, I didn't understand how fitness worked, but I did know that you weren't really supposed to eat carbs. That was what was kind of taught to me. And, doing a lot of cardio helps you lose weight. So I was doing an hour a day, 2 a days, at the gym, just on the elliptical. But before that had happened, like that was around when I started modeling again. And there was like, a period from 14 to 19 where I became a drug addict. And during that time also was great because I was doing stimulants. So I was pretty skinny as well. But it's funny because as soon as I went to rehab for the fourth time, it was in a it was in a mental hospital. So it was the first time that I had like actual meals scheduled out and portioned out. So when I got sober, I lost a bunch of weight. Like I wasn't ever really like big, but I did lose a bunch of weight, and I started modeling again. And this time it was a lot better. I was eating more, but it was the same, like 2 a day. Like it was, I started going to the gym, doing the elliptical, doing an hour of cardio once or twice a day. Excuse me. Was told carbs were bad, so I wasn't eating carbs, but I didn't understand like I was eating carbs. I just didn't know I was, because to me, you know, white bread, pasta, like all that shit was demonized. That being said, we both know that like no matter what, it gets converted into fucking glucose. Your body doesn't recognize the difference.
Yep.
Like it's not that deep, and sugar isn't the devil. But unfortunately, you know, at the time when I was doing that, in my brain, I didn't understand how any of that worked. I didn't understand nutrient absorption. Like, so I just thought that if I was constantly shitting, then it was fine. I wasn't actually gaining, like I wasn't. So I would
In there.
constantly take fucking laxatives. I can still taste the fucking pink pill on my tongue. And if you take laxatives for an extended period of time, like specifically if you hit like 3 or 4 days in a row, bitch, that shit gets painful. And it fucks up your digestive system for life. Like maybe not for life, because I've been repairing my relationship with food and with my body and with nutrition for the past like year and a half. But goddamn, like it did fuck me, and it still does fuck me more than I've been fucked at all in the past 2 years. I can tell you that right now.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that, and this is something that I think that me and you provide like really good insight to our clients. Similarly to me, like I never got to the point of taking laxatives, but when I finally, like when my family was like, "Oh wow, it seems like you have an eating disorder," I was kind of like, "You might be right." And I immediately like took that as an idea to eat the foods that were making me shit my brains out. So I would bloat for a couple of days, not eat for 3 because I was so full, and then I would be like immediately skinny, and I would do this like cycle, right? So I ended up switching from anorexia to basically bulimia with my issues. They also thought I was gluten intolerant. I went through a whole endoscopy, did the blood test. Turns out with my own research, because, you know, doctors fucking suck, I most likely have a fat intolerance. So cutting out carbs made me now be unable to process fat. I malabsorb fat, which means anytime I eat in a total daily expenditure, keep that in mind. Anytime I eat over like 45 grams of fat, I'm done, dead to the world. I binged with my friend because I will say I love her dearly, but me and her love to binge together. And being on my goals now, she'll ask me and she'll say like, "Hey, is this okay with you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I can withstand a binge every now and then in the sense of like moderation." So I think I got like a 4 chicken tender like meal from Zaxby's. Only ate 3 chickens.
Babe, that's not
Um,
binging. That's just eating, no?
thing too is like that's what I was gonna say with me. I don't know. This is something I teach my clients. I know I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit. When it comes to healing your eating disorder, you have to understand what your point of origin is. Are you a binger or are you a starver? Because when you understand where you start, you can stop the second. So for me, I realize that I am a starver. I will starve for days on end and then be so famished and so hungry and so hangry that I binge to solve that problem. Now, some people binge and then transition into starvation because they feel guilty. So you have to understand in the cycle where you kind of begin, and then you can kind of nip it in the bud, which is why for me, I know that, because especially too, because I'll go on days of binge right after starving myself, and I'll excuse it. Well, like you didn't eat for the last 4 days. Do it.
Yeah.
Terrible ideology. Terrible.
Well, it's the same, right? Like, you know, it's funny because I think that's what makes you a good that's what's going to make you a great coach. That's what makes you a good PT, and I think that that's what makes me a coach as well. No, but what I'm saying is like I think that it's good that, you know, because when I sign clients, like they're aware that I still have a relationship with food that I'm healing. And it's good because there's a divide often I find with people who have been in the fitness and nutrition space for quite a while, where their clients view them as like, you know, the gold standard and they've got this insane physique. And not that I can relate, but I'm just saying that there tends to be a divide where they can't feel connected to their coach because their experiences are so vastly different. And I think that it's great because we're able to offer that different perspective. And when people come into this, you know, and they want coaching, at least for me, a lot of my clients want to go on a fat loss journey. They want to heal their relationship with food. And I think that it's good because it also humanizes you, and you can offer insights to think like to them of things that have worked for you. You can provide research that you've done, but also like you can give life advice of here's what I've been going through recently. And like it's good because, you know, there are almost all of my clients have struggled with binge eating. And, you know, as you're one of them, like we've done weekly check-ins, and a lot of people do the same thing where they binge and restrict, or they restrict and then they binge. And there's one client that I have, and we've been trying to come up with solves for months, and we keep, you know, doing different things, trying different things. And at the start, like she was been fucking night. It was horrible. And now it's gotten to the point where she's like, okay, like, you know, I take a look at her calories throughout the week, and there was one day where she was above calories by like, you know, 400. And she said, yeah, that's the night that I binged. And her binge of that night was basically her eating at maintenance. And I said to her, I'm like, I need you to ask yourself this. Did you binge or were you hungry? Because let's take a look at the data from 6 months ago when we started, right? Your binging was like legit binging. If you're eating an extra 400 calories, that's like 2 protein bars, you know, a king size chocolate bar. Like that's not that excessive. Because I needed her to understand, like, listen, there is progress, but sometimes you also need to realize that, like, as you progress in your fitness journey, you know, you and I, we count calories, we track our macros, we weigh our food. So that's why I had to correct you, because you were like, oh yeah, well, you know, I binged. I got a 4-piece chicken tender meal and some fries. And I'm thinking, okay, is that a binge or are you just eating? And I don't mean to like invalidate, because I know that, you know, when we do this and when we have these like excursions or things where we have like a cheat meal or a cheat day, like, or we eat something that's not necessarily like cheating, but off plan, like we often think, oh my God, like we binged. But sometimes we're just living life and it's not that deep. Like for me, it's not that bodybuilding for me is not that deep because I don't ever plan to do it competitively. And that's actually what led me to my realization yesterday. And I don't know if I told you about it, but I was driving around and I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, I fucked up my reverse. And for those of you who don't know, like a reverse is a reverse diet. So after you've been, you know, in a deficit for a while and you want to go back up to maintenance or start kind of like a bulking phase, you reverse diet where you slowly increase your calories back up to maintenance, but it doesn't cause you to gain weight if you do it right and if you do it slowly and incrementally over an extended period of time. And when I was supposed to reverse after being in a cut for 10 months, as I said earlier in the episode, I ended up gaining, sorry, 14 pounds in 10 days. And it was mostly fat. Well, it was all fat. And I kept it on. And my mom is coming to visit from Ecuador in almost 2 months to the day. And when she comes, we're going to be going out for dinner. We're going to be celebrating her birthday, my birthday, Christmas, like a bunch of things we're going to be celebrating, and we're going to be going out for food. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you know, I'm in a cut right now. My calories are very low. How am I going to do this? Because when I originally, I wanted to do it because my friend Alex was going through prep and I wanted to do it with her so that we could do cardio together and whatever. We were at the same gym, but we no longer are. And it got me thinking, like, okay, you know, I can keep being in this cut, in this caloric deficit for the next 2 months, maybe hit some fucking goals, hit some milestones, but then I'm just going to gain all this fucking fat back the second my mom gets here because I'm going to be going out and eating a bunch of food. That's just how it is. And I thought, you know what? I could give a fuck. I don't really care. If I don't look lean in a bathing suit, I'm at like 25% body fat right now. It's not that deep to me. I would just rather take the next 2 months, reverse diet properly, and then spend the next, you know, 7 to 8 months in a bulking phase because, bitch, I'm new to this. I want to put on some fucking muscle. Like, if I'm getting lean, I'm gonna look like a fucking Pilates girl, and that's not what I want to look like. I want to have muscle. So, I'm gonna get fluffy. I'm gonna put on some fucking fat in the process because that's just the name of the game, baby girl. If you want to put on size, you're gonna have to get fluffy.
Yes.
I have to fucking urinate so badly. Can you give me 2 seconds?
I'm going to hold my thought because I have something so important to say. So important. I'm going to probably put it in our little notes. I feel like whenever she leaves me, I feel like, you know, that current trend on TikTok where it's like, watch my boss real quick. That's how, oh, I just spilled my water all over myself. Rude.
Yes, we're good. No, I literally was pissing like a fucking racehorse, bitch. Sex magic, I do it all the time and stand by her.
I know. I can't wait to talk about that shit. Okay. Before I get distracted, I will say this. I technically did binge because I ate 4 crumble cookies after, like, whole crumble cookies
As one does.
after the chicken tendies. But also, I do factor in my fat intake into binging because obviously, again, TMI, love you all. If you're listening, I apologize. I will say also, too, I have a bunch of clients who have been listening to our podcast. I fucking love you all. Thank you so fucking much. They're really amazing. But regardless, I did binge. I factor in my fat intake into my binges because I shit my brains out. When I say I shit my brains out, I'm talking like, bitch, I have a video and it sounds like I'm pissing and I'm actually shitting. And you know me, since I'm a PT and I do in-person sessions. So if I binge and eat too much fat, I can't get through my day. It's terrible. But also, I would like to make a special shout out because this is the first time that I have cut and bulked successfully. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that's because of you. I cannot put into words how badly I needed you because right before I met you and found your page, I had trained with a coach who put me at a 1400 like total macros for the day. Like I was eating at 1400 and I dropped like weight like this. So when
Wonder
you
why.
found me, I know, right? I was like, man, fuck you, Blake. Honestly, I really hope one day this motherfucker sees this shit because fuck you. You shouldn't be a coach. You shouldn't be certified. And also, how you gonna cheat on your wife and 1-year-old son with one of my friends from the gym? Fuck you, Blake.
Fuck
Fuck
you,
you.
Blake. Mic drop. Fucking fuck you.
Bitch, but she found me when I was in this extreme deficit. I was losing all my strength. I was losing weight like crazy. I was losing my ass. That's like half the reason why people follow me. Stressed. And I went into a recomp and I successfully recomped. I bulked beautifully. I mean, I gained 20 pounds from like the start of us training all the way up to the end. And now I'm in a cut where I really haven't binged. Like I said, even like I splurged a little bit with my friend. Okay,
Yeah.
get back on track on Monday. You're good.
Yeah.
And I really have you to thank for that. I like cannot put into words that if you are struggling with your nutrition, this bitch will help you. It was worth every penny that I spent. I would spend more if I fucking could, bitch. And I honestly like I will come back. Like when I get financially stable, let me come back because just being able to like have the support from you as a coach means everything. And if you're certified or if you're not certified, if you've been in this gym journey for however long, it does not hurt to get secondary advice and the support from whatever kind of coach. Just make sure they align with who you are. And I'm going to stand off my little high horse now because I just needed people to know that I'm only doing this because of you, bitch.
No, I love my fucking face hurts from smiling so much. I love you, and I love all of my clients. I've gotten to a point where I don't have very many, but all the people on the roster are all like neurodivergent, like ADHD, deal with BPD, depression, like anxiety. We're all the same, and it's cool because we get to go on this journey together. We get to learn from like each other, and it's just a beautiful thing because I've had moments where we're mentally ill, but there are moments where things are good. It's brief, but I've had moments where I just feel this like extreme gratitude because for me, as somebody who has struggled and does continue to struggle with their physique, with fitness, with nutrition, to be helping other people with it is so fucking cool. And like 20 pounds in the I think we worked together for what, 6 months? Was it 6 months? That's
Yeah.
fucking wild, dude. And you put on
Bitch, I
crazy
was looking at
muscle.
my
Like,
like different videos and I was like, holy shit. And again, that would have not happened if I did not decide to sign up with you. And I really like, I found your page, right? So, like, obviously, I work in the commercial gym space. I'm underpaid. I'm trying to like basically pull a second job with now the content creation and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it. Like you said, the moments of gratefulness. And I think that's why I was crying in the car because I literally texted my friend Caitlin and I was like, I'm just so thankful for the people who are currently in my life because I would not be the individual that I am without them. But I feel even in my darkest moments, I feel like an ungodly amount of love and support, which is not something that I would have if I didn't enter into this career field, if I didn't start the journey that I did. Like, going to the gym ended this like whole catalyst. It was this catalyst for this entire journey. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never thought I would be here. I know that when I started, I originally was like, I don't care if I lose a single fucking pound. I can't tie my shoes. I've got stretch marks from my belly button down to my fucking clit. This has got to change. And I just started. And
Yeah.
about a year and a half in, that's when I was like, okay, I need to start picking up weights and I need to focus on nutrition. And I mean, like I said, it saved my life. It's brought me to people who I deserve to be around, people who are about self improvement. Cause that's one thing I think, being extremely mentally ill, the gym can teach you to stay disciplined and stay like accountable to yourself. I was the most fucked up, unhinged, evil person that you probably could ever meet. And I'm so different from that now. I know you mentioned at the funeral that you were really upset because, like, someone that you want to be friends with mentioned that you had bullied them. And I think too, like, I look back at like some of the things that I did as a child, and bitch, I was a cunt. Oh my God. Like, evil, evil little ass bitch.
I think that, like, we all have good and we all have bad inside of us, but that's the thing. Like, I'm not, what I will say is I was a drug addict for the majority of high school. Are you there?
Yeah, I was just about to say my shit just glitched and like, can you see me?
Oh,
Hello?
you're
Can
good.
you
Yeah, you're good.
My like whole thing just glitched and I thought like my camera died. So sorry. I think it should be good.
No, you're good.
Okay,
Um,
that's weird.
yeah, the thing is like, I was a different person in high school. I was a drug addict. And the first thing that I said to her is, I am so deeply sorry. I do not remember this happening, but I do believe that I did that. If you're saying this, that it's something that I did, I do believe you. And I am so deeply sorry. And she could see how it had affected me because I was bullied so fucking severely. I had to be pulled out of school for 2 weeks apparently, which I don't remember. My mom doesn't remember either, but somebody at my school that I was friends with when I was younger had told me. But it was horrible. Like, I had no fucking friends. I had to play with kindergartners in grade 6. I said it was volunteering, but it's because nobody wanted to be fucking around me. So for me to feel like I've inflicted that pain on somebody else was just like the worst fucking thing to hear. That being said, all shift and change and evolve, some of us more than others. And the weird and interesting thing that did take place a few months into my content creation journey was this girl who bullied me relentlessly. That being said, I can't remember a single instance of her bullying me. I can't remember what happened, but I remember it did happen. Her name is Danielle, and she reached out to me, and it was about specifically a clip that I had clipped from a YouTube video where I was talking about, I was crying in the car and I was saying how, I was bullied relentlessly when I was a kid and I had to play with kindergartners, whatever. And she said, I just wanted to let you know. And it was like one of the best moments that I've had so far in content creation and something I'm thankful about, like within this journey, is she was just like, listen, like, I don't remember what I did to you, but I do know that I played a part in bullying you. And she was like, I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry. And I was like, wow, you have no fucking idea how transformative me, because it wasn't just like a one time thing or a couple comments. Like, it was bad for years. And it's cool that now, we're 30. I'm 30, like the people in my grade are 30, and when Kelly had said that to me, I could genuinely see that she did understand and know that I was a different person and that I had changed. And that's the thing I say all the time too about this shit is like, I'm not necessarily worried about getting canceled for things that I've done in the past, because if people, like, if shit comes up, for the most part, like, I stand on what I said, and if I did something wrong, like, I'll own my shit and I'll admit it and I'll take responsibility for it even if I don't remember it. That being said, I think that what's so much better in the creator space, or just, just in general, better than an apology, while an apology is still extremely important and something that I think people should do, I think what's also vastly more important is taking accountability, understanding where you went wrong, doing the research, and changing as a fucking human being. And it's something that I do frequently where if I don't understand where I've gone wrong, like sometimes I just don't get it because of the fucking autism. So I will literally do research and I will Google, I'll talk to Miss Chat GPT, I'll talk to my mom, I'll talk to friends around me because I want to understand where I've gone wrong in order to do better. And I think a lot of times when I'm faced with criticism, like how I was, we talked about it on the episode, I think last week for Men's Mental Health Month, is like originally, I'll take a very defensive stance but I won't say that. I'll feel defensive, but then my response for the most part will be like, okay, I don't understand this, but I want to understand. I want to get where you're coming from because I don't want to hurt people. And back to our men's mental health episode, like, bro, the way in which I saw like the effects of that in this past week with my friend, like,
Even in my case, like, right, like, and I will, I want to share this podcast with my mom so bad, but I also feel like left and right, I'm going to be shitting on her because the reality of it is my dad passed because his mental health was so shit, and he got taken advantage of by a woman who, if you ask me, like, doesn't love anyone but herself. And I don't mean that in a really hateful way. I just
Mhm.
mean it in what I've been shown, right? And something that you brought up just previously was, apologies don't mean shit unless there's behavior change with it. Apologies without behavior change is just emotional manipulation. And I know we'll probably get in that next week as well because, yeah, here, y'all better strap in for this next episode because, oof. But I know when it comes to, like, my dad, my parents divorced when I was 3.
Mhm.
Okay. Just a little tidbit of information. They divorced when I was 3. My mom went and started seeing other people, caught HIV, started using drugs. And when I say caught HIV, I mean my entire family flipped out and we all had to get tested for it because they thought she was dormant and thought like she gave it to a whole hot mess. And my dad stayed single for 17 years while he funded her drug addiction, her HIV treatment, her rent, anything food stamps, and the government didn't cover, which in North Carolina ain't shit. And when my dad did have his stroke, right, and they had just previously talked about moving my mom out of the state because my dad couldn't afford it anymore. My dad had his stroke. At that point, I was technically homeless because I had no financial provider. I was in college. And we snuck into his bank accounts and saw that my dad didn't have a single dollar saved, despite being an over 6-figure employee at a systems engineering company. And every last dollar went to my fucking mother. My dad did not date until 3 months before his stroke. I was 20 years old. Or excuse me, I was 19 years old. I understand men's mental health. One, because obviously I have the public health degree. I've studied this shit from a scientific point of view. I know someone called me out and they're like, where's the scientific evidence? Bitch, I am the scientific evidence. Suck my dick. I didn't fight for 5 years of the worst years of my life to get a fucking degree to be told by a man who doesn't fucking know me that I don't know what I'm talking about. That shit had me ready to throw hands, bitch. I was ready to throw fucking hands, especially because I suffered at the hand of a man who was taken advantage of by a woman. Like my entire like family history. If anything, like I'm on men's side more than 98% of the time. So please go choke on my strap because I can't. Like anyways, because I can go on a whole tangent. I've got motherfuckers in my DMs being like, "I'm sorry if I offended you. Did I fuck up?" And I was like, "Yeah, you did," because we actually know what the fuck we're talking about. Shocker! It's not just two girls yip yapping. And even if it was, we're fucking funny, bitch. And you keep watching, so maybe you should solve something in yourself. But that's what I
Well,
have to say about mental health podcast. That's it.
the
That's it.
the thing is you texted me and you were like, "Hey, I was wondering, like, can I be like more like crazy on the podcast? Can I have like more like no filter?" I was like, "Babe, it's called the Into Filter Podcast for a reason. Like, go off, Sister Queen." But when it comes to your mom listening, it's up to you, right? My mom listens to every podcast and she always gives me feedback. I think what is hard, right? And the thing that kind of really aligns my mom and I is we do constantly grow. And for her in my YouTube videos or in podcast episodes, like it's hard because there are times where I've talked about things where she has gone wrong. Like she has fucked me a little bit. Not, sexually, but mentally. She has fucked me. But she has made a fuckload of mistakes as a mother, but all mothers do. That being said, she really made some wrong choices. But not even as mothers, as human beings, we all make wrong choices. We're all just learning, There's no
Yeah.
fucking handbook that we read when we pop out of our mom's pussies where we know how to fucking do life correctly. And that's the beautiful thing about her and about like myself as well. And that's where we're very aligned, where we do shift and evolve and change and become better. And she is an amazing mother. Like, I love and adore and appreciate her so much. She's the coolest fucking person. She's going to be on this podcast when she comes and visit. I'm telling you now. And I think that when it comes to the content creation aspect, right, I think it's hard sometimes for our family members to be confronted by past demons by hearing us speak about things, right? Part of my relationship with food was affected because of her, but she was trying to help at the time. She was doing what she thought she needed to do to help me succeed in modeling. And it's hard because, a lot of my clients, their moms also played a big role in how their moms or parents have played a big role in how they perceive food on this binary level of like good and bad. And that's the thing, right? Which is very cool about a lot of dietitians that I follow versus coaches, where it's different, right, in the bodybuilding space versus just lifestyle coaching. But I think that for the most part, because of, you know, societal understanding of fitness and nutrition, a lot of us have this very binary view of food is inherently good versus bad, which it shouldn't be. And when we assign good versus bad to food, we're really setting ourselves up for failure because that shouldn't be how it is. And I've had a lot of clients that have been like, well, it's bad because I know that you set these macros for me and I had a lot of sugar this week. And I said, babe, so what? Sugar is carbs. Like, there's a difference between you consuming all your fucking everything that you're doing is just cookies. It's just carbs, right? It's just sugar. But sugar isn't inherently bad for you. The poison is in the dose. But if you're eating a well-balanced diet, if you're hitting your macros, but also consuming micronutrients, consuming fiber, enough fiber that you need as a woman or as a man, and you're, hitting protein, you're drinking water, you're moving your body, you're getting sleep, like sugar inherently bad for you. And I've listened to the Fitness Stuff for Normal People podcast, and they were talking about how they couldn't find a single study where they said that sugar was bad for you. The thing is, though, is a lot of items, for example, let's just take, I don't know, donuts. People will be like, donuts are bad for you because they have a lot of sugar. Babe, donuts are bad for you because they are fucking high in calories because they contain a lot of fat. Like, yes, they contain sugar, but sugar is not the fucking devil. Like, if you're overweight, odds are it's because for the most part you're in a caloric surplus, but there are a lot of factors that are there. I mean, sorry, I'm getting off topic here. Odds are if you have extra body fat, it's because you're in a caloric surplus. That being said, to demonize sugar, maybe not the right way to go about it, but like if you're just consuming constantly all donuts, no, it's not going to be great for you. Are you going to feel your best? Probably not. But like if you're able to get to a point where, a lot of my clients have binge eating issues and, they're autistic and they also have safe food. So it's hard finding a balance where we can get to a point where we have the ability to reintroduce these foods. I don't know where the fuck I'm going with this, bitch.
Kind of going back to the whole like demonizing of certain foods, and
Yes.
like really what it boils down to is like it's not good or bad, it's either calorically dense, right, high fat, high cal, but like low nutritional value,
Hmm.
versus non-calorically dense food, which is going to be like better nutritional value, whole foods, high protein,
Yeah.
vegetables, things like that. And that's why I was going to say, even too, like I know you did the same thing with me. when you first get a client who's been struggling with an eating disorder, or even like if you are listening to this yourself and can't afford a coach, not interested in a coach, but need some sort of reforming of your nutrition, start by just prioritizing protein, just tracking protein. Just keep an idea, in your calculator, in your notes app, track your protein, prioritize whole foods. And if you do binge or you do eat something that you feel like, right, like you're, oh, I feel guilty, ooh, I feel shame, breathe. Just take a second to breathe and get back on track the next day. And usually, right, most people find that when they start doing that, they even drop weight. Because a lot of the issues too is it's not about, this is what I was trying to explain to one of my clients who ended up having to take a break with me and then come back when she got her nutrition figured out, is it's not about just the calories, it's about the content, right? If I eat 1,500 calories a day, but 60% of that is fat, whatever the fuck I do in the gym is not going to do shit.
It's also, fat is so calorically dense by comparison to something like protein or carbs, right? And fat is not as satiating as protein. Protein keeps you fuller for longer. It takes you longer to digest. You also burn more calories when you're consuming protein. So I remember the first day that I hit protein personally, I was fucking huge. And I just signed a new client. We've been together for a week and a half. And she just started hitting her protein goal and she was like, bitch, I couldn't shit for 3 days. And I was like, yeah, bestie, it's interesting because when you go on this journey, right, and you eat more nutrients, when you go on this journey and you start to eat more nutrient dense foods and more quote unquote whole foods, and by that I mean food that is less ultra processed. A lot of food is fucking processed. The whole demonizing of processed foods is fucking dumb as shit. Like, processing can be freezing vegetables. It can be getting frozen vegetables in the fucking, like, it's so insane. I digress. What the fuck was I just talking about? Can you remind me?
We were talking about like whole foods and like just changing simple things can cause you to lose very quickly.
Yeah. So she started hitting protein, and it's funny because when I started hitting protein, I thought, the fuck, I'm eating more more nutrient dense food, less ultra processed food. I should be feeling good. But your digestive system is smart, right? It gets used to the fucking shit that you're putting in your system. So when you switch up and you start prioritizing protein and hitting protein, that shit gets all fucked up. Your body gets confused as shit, and you think, okay, I'm eating quote unquote healthier. I should be feeling better, but it takes a few weeks for your body to adjust to it. And like, I remember when I first started hitting protein, I was sick as fuck for like 3 weeks because my body was like, what the fuck? All we do is eat McDonald's, we binge, we have fucking 8,000 calorie meals. Like, the fuck is this? Like, lean protein? I don't
The
understand.
bloating that I experienced when I switched over to a high protein diet was insane. You'll have to remind me because I can't remember how long you've been doing this and stuff, but I've been on this journey. Like I started in August of 2020. So I'm coming up on 4 years. Which to see like my progression in 4 years, like I would have never thought that I got this far. I mean, I never expected it. And even looking at myself, like when I started over at the job that I'm at now versus where I'm at now, like I've stacked on so much fucking muscle. And like, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, like as coaches, and this is something that I'm honest with my clients, I would be lying to you if I said I hit my macros every day, I hit my protein every day, I didn't binge. You know, the reality of it is like if you got to look at this as a lifestyle change. This is something that you will do for the rest of your fucking life, bitch. So if you think you're not going to eat a single cookie for the next 60 fucking years, bitch, bruh, be so fucking for real. So the reality of it is you're going to have slip ups. You're going to have moments where your nutrition isn't the best, and that's okay. The moment that you berate yourself and beat yourself up and feel guilt is the minute that you allow that shit to win. So I know I tell a lot of my clients that it's be compassionate with yourself, make small changes over time, and slowly but surely it'll turn into habits. And I was so bloated when I hit protein the first time. It's insane. I still technically can't ever hit protein on my own just from like actual food. Struggling with an eating disorder, I need some form of supplementation. I try to keep it at 1 serving of protein. Just because I don't want to get too much supplementation. But I know even when I was in that bulk, eating almost 2,700 calories, like I was supplementing at least twice a day because it was just so hard to get everything down. And I ended up supplementing with a carb. It's from First Form. I think that's First Form. They're a great company, but They have like a carb supplement that I would add too. Obviously, since I have the fat intolerance, I get the majority of my calories from carbs and protein, which I've even recommended to a lot of my clients because I've noticed, like, just in general, a lot less inflammation. And obviously, fat, like you mentioned earlier, when it comes to nutrition, your body only separates things into three categories: carbs, fats, protein. That's it. And glucose, obviously, like sugars, but that's going to fall into carbs.
Yeah.
So there's no point in demonizing any of it because your body doesn't demonize it.
Yeah. I think everybody's different though. It's hard, right? Because I find that and this isn't you. I'm saying I've seen a lot of coaches, they'll, especially we're talking about like bodybuilding coaches here where, they'll do a show, their gut is all fucked up. They'll do like gut protocol, they'll try to heal their gut, and they'll push their own protocol onto other people. And it's very weird because just because you can't deal with a certain thing doesn't mean that that's how others are too. Like, for my
Right.
clients, we'll try different things, right? The thing that I prioritize with them is like, it's lifestyle clients, so it's different than bodybuilding, but I'll just be like, you know what, we hit protein and let's just see what works best for you, right? Because if you're not doing competitive bodybuilding, it doesn't really matter too much where you put the rest for fats and carbs. It's to your liking. If you like having bacon, amazing, we're going to allocate more fats to you. If you like having a cookie every now and again, or you like crackers, like that it's kind of, it's up to you. But that being said, as time progresses, if you hit plateaus, like, you have to try different things, right? As you said yourself, like, being a coach is just pretty much every week troubleshooting. And it's interesting as I've gone through this because I'm also hitting plateaus. Like, it's hard just to try to figure out what's different. That being said, also, what is challenging, you're not with your clients 24/7.
Yep.
So you can give them protocol, right? And if you're not seeing results, it can be confusing to you as a coach because clients can tell you that they're following protocol, but you don't really know, right? And if you are giving them changes and they say that they're hitting them, but it's been however long and you're not seeing any progress, it's hard because I want them to succeed and I'm not going to like just take your money,
Yep.
but it's hard because you don't want to point the finger and be like, "Okay, babe, like let's be honest." I had to have a talk with one of my clients last week where I said, "Listen, I want you to get the most out of this. This is important for me that you are happy as a client and you're seeing results. And right now, these are your specific goals. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a refeed because if you're following the plan, if you really are following the plan, then we're hitting a plateau. There's something wrong. So there's something needs to change, right?" And she said, "Listen, like, I've been off track. I've been off track for a bit." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. Like, if the whole thing that I'm big on as a coach, as somebody who does lifestyle coaching, is sustainability. Because at the end of the day, so many people come to me and they're like, well, I've tried keto, I've tried, juice cleanses and detoxes. By the way, detoxes are bullshit. I'm sorry, but juice, sorry, is not going to fucking detox your body. You know what detoxes your body? Your liver. Your liver.
Yep.
And if your body needs detoxing and you need a detox, it means your liver's not functioning. You need to get the fuck to the hospital, as fucking Tony Coffee would say, because that's what detoxes you. But oh fuck, what the fuck was I saying? Do you remember?
Yeah. So basically, like, kind of the concept of like basically personal training and like coaching, right? It's not a forever thing. We understand that it's
Oh,
financially
yes.
expensive, but it's to give you the tools to move forward on your own.
Yes, that's the thing. Fuck, I had it. You told me
I had to
something and
sit
then I
down
had it.
conversation with one of your clients and be like, look, like, either we need to revamp or you're not actually hitting your goals. And she was
Yeah.
like, I'm not really hitting my goals, which understandable. We've all been
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, I do like to focus on sustainability because all these people will come to me and they'll try a bunch of different things and they'll do crash diets and they're like, "Well, it worked. It did work. Initially I saw results, but then I couldn't keep the weight off." And one of my clients
Yeah.
specifically, she came to me and she was like, "I wanted to talk to you about Ozempic." And I said, listen, here's the thing, right? Ozempic is great for a lot of very different reasons. I know people who are on it personally. It's something that if you truly want to do, I think it's something you should discuss with your doctor. If you're asking
Yeah.
me my professional opinion, I don't think that it's a good idea for you. Reason being, and again, I don't have a lot of knowledge of the chemical compound and what is in it, but what I do know is the effect that it has, which is it's an appetite suppressant, right? So a lot of people will take Ozempic, they'll lose their appetite, and then they'll stop eating. But that doesn't heal your relationship with food. It just suppresses your appetite. So people will lose a bunch of weight. Same thing with, if you're doing keto or whatever the fuck you're doing, right? And you lose a
Please.
bunch of weight fast, it's not sustainable. You'll see results, but it's not giving you the tools that you need to succeed long term. It is a lifestyle thing. And if you want to lose weight, be lean, gain muscle, be fit, move your body better, then you need to find ways to do it sustainably so that it becomes just ingrained in you and ingrained in your lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, we can all fucking lose weight mad quick, but can we keep it off? Like, we're not. And that's the thing with coaching, right? Again, I said, like, I take a very sustainable approach. I'm not going to put somebody on fucking 1,200 calories because they're fucking dumb. Will I see results fast? Will they see results fast? Yeah, but is it teaching them the tools that they need to succeed without me? No. And when I sign somebody up, the first thing that I say is, listen, sustainability is important to me. I'm not going to get you to your dream body because your dream body is probably years down the road. And a lot of people have this fucked up notion when it comes to fitness and nutrition that because of advertising and shit that we see where people are trying to sell their programs, oh, you can get abs in 6 weeks or get your summer body, get shredded, when in reality, by the time that you do get to your goal, which is, it doesn't take months, it tends to take years, your view of what you wanted your physique to look like probably has changed vastly.
And I was gonna say, even like with my experience, right? Like, and I feel like I can give this insight from a public health point of view, from a, again, a lot of, I know I'm a new face here, but I am a licensed medical professional. Let's just put that out there. In fact, my entire degree was based on writing clinical research. I worked on things like the HIV epidemic, the opioid epidemic. So out here, there's a huge mass supply of opioids. And a lot of people die from it. So I worked on a lot of projects that focus in on like behavior change when it comes to addiction, safe sex, but also worked on kinesiology, anatomy, biology, and immunology. So I've got a withstanding medical background. And I'm sorry, but I hate the idea of people taking Ozempic for weight loss. And maybe I'm a little biased, but my dad was a type 1 diabetic. And if you didn't know, diabetes is one of the number one leading money generators for the US healthcare system. Next to cancer, it is the number one leading money generator. And that's because everything is so fucking expensive. There are people in this country that cannot afford their diabetic meds and will die. My dad was a type 1 diabetic from the age of 30 years old. Very weird because it's juvenile. In fact, I get tested every year for my A1C because I'm most likely going to end up like him, where my autoimmune issues end up attacking my pancreas. And now I'm type 1 diabetic at 30 years old. The strips that you use to test your blood are $1 a strip. And typically type 1 diabetics need to test at least 10 to 20 times a day. The meters run from $100 to $200 and die pretty frequently. The meds are mad expensive. And now I say that, right? That if you are someone who is struggling with losing weight due to lifestyle changes, I recommend getting a coach. I recommend doing your research. And I recommend trying with the mindset of, I don't care if I lose weight, I just want to be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're someone, for example, like my mom, who's gained at least over 200 pounds from her antipsychotics, Ozempic might be a great option for you because you gaining weight has nothing to do with your lifestyle or what you're doing. It's a side effect from a med that keeps you here and living.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of antidepressants cause weight gain. A lot of birth controls can cause weight gain. There's a lot of things that you might take that cause weight gain that you might be prescribed Ozempic, again, with the approval of your doctor. Now, again, I don't know if I mentioned, but at one point I got up to 245 pounds. I stopped weighing myself and probably gained another 20. So I was around 260 pounds at 5'3". And I'm not saying that it was the easiest thing to do. And I'm not saying that everyone can do it, right? Because there's also the conversation of food access and food insecurity and access to whole foods, right? Some people cannot afford a diet that consists or that a diet that would actually help you lose weight. And that's understandable, right? A lot of people who are trying to lose weight are single mothers. I've got
Yep.
so many clients who are not even single mothers, but are basically fucking single mothers raising kids of 3 while their man sits there and berates them, and they can't even get to a point where they feel mentally confident in themselves to lose the weight. So there's other factors that can always weigh into your weight loss. Don't
Yeah.
discredit that whatsoever. You
Just
feel like
wanna
Ozempic is right? Oh, go for it. Go, go.
sorry. Sorry, all I wanted to say too is like, yes, the nutrition and fitness space is also very classist. And for people who are, fitness influencers who are 20 years old who say, I can do it, so can you. I go to the gym and do fasted cardio in the morning and I train at night. I'm sorry. There are 100 and whatever the fuck, there are 24 hours in a day. And not everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. And I remember seeing
Correct.
somebody who was someone that I really liked in the fitness and nutrition space. And he said, you know what? uh Whole Foods are affordable, and if you can't say, like, if you're saying that they're not, here's fucking proof. This is my fucking bison, this is my steak, this isn't. And it was $15 for this meal, and I'm like, $15 for a meal? For a meal, babe? Like, it's so fucking dumb, because a lot of people in this space are not capable of stepping outside of themselves and taking a look and saying, okay, no, we're not all equal. We're not. Because, like you said, with single mothers who have fucking 9 to 5s, they got to take care of their kids. Like, we don't have the same 24 hours in a day. But, and I'm going to say this, do you have something else? Like, I was going to basically just be like, if you're struggling with fitness and nutrition, or you want to lose weight, like what I was going to say is, like, there are a few simple things that you can focus on, like we said earlier. Prioritizing fiber, prioritizing protein, prioritizing macronutrients, increasing your step count, drinking water, and prioritizing sleep. But what,
Yep.
like, did you have anything else that you wanted to say? Because I know I cut you off. I'm
Oh,
so
you're
sorry.
fine. I think it's like, this is obviously something that me and you are very passionate about. Like, obviously, we're both autistic girlies. And I think it's easy for us because it's something that we're passionate about. And this is something that I tell my clients often. It's easy for me. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've been tracking for 4 years. I've been troubleshooting my entire fitness journey for 4 years. I got certified. I got a medical background. This to me is easy, but for people who are new to it, it's a lot of fucking information all at once. So sometimes it's easier just to start you guys off being like, okay, we're going to make small, tiny little changes. Right. And I think too, like, you're right. Like, I remember, like, and again, like, me and him are still friends, but my ex used to say all the time, like, everyone's got the same 24 hours. Blah, 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 blah. That man's got a work ethic and a drive that I've never seen in anybody else but my dad. And kudos to him. Like, kudos to him. I love you for that. I don't have the same fucking 24 hours. I'm mentally ill. I've got probably ADHD because I really struggle with procrastination and task paralysis. So even switching from work to content creation, back to like clients of my own, back to like everything else that I do, it's a lot. It's taxing. None of us have the same 24 hours. And
No.
the best thing that you can do before you get a coach, if you're trying to do this on your own, but especially before you get a coach, is troubleshoot your life. Okay. See where things are kind of preventing you from getting to that place, right? Is that kids? Is that the time of day that you've got? I mean, some people can only work out for 30 minutes a day. Some people cannot
But you,
dedicate 2 hours to train a day. And that's
yeah.
okay.
But at the end of the day, it's hard because, as we said, this whole space is just oversaturated. It's hard, and it's filled with a lot of people who are in things for the money. So I think our advice to you, if you are starting a fitness journey and you're confused, is figure out good sources and good information to consume, because a lot of people just want to sell you shit that you don't need in order to make money and profit off of you. It's a very predatory space, the fitness and nutrition space. But if you want our advice as somebody who is a coach and who is a PT and a coach, it would just be to start off by doing things that are simple. Start small, build and stack small wins. Things like increasing your protein, making sure that you're hitting fiber, introducing micronutrients if that's something that you're not, doing right now. So eating vegetables, eating fruit, things with vitamins, things with minerals, prioritizing sleep. increasing your step count, and also just drinking water. It's a lot of, it can seem very daunting, but if you can even start with, one or two of these things, it can vastly improve your life and help you on your journey, whether that's to, lose fat, build muscle. I'm not saying
Improve
your
it's not hard
relationship with your body, because it is, but there are small little things that you can do, and just start small. Focus on sustainability, because if you want to change your life, I'm sorry, but with fitness and nutrition, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a very long journey, especially when it comes to healing your relationship with food. So start small. And if you're at the beginning of this, congratulate yourself, because it's a hard thing to begin, especially when you're stepping into a gym and you've never been there before. But we've all done it. We've all started from the beginning, and there's no shame in that. And if you want resources, reach out to people for help, find who you can trust, and just go from there. Start small and build off of those little small wins, stack your wins, and eventually small wins stack become really big wins over time.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's really like all that this journey boils down to. And like you said, it can get really overwhelming and daunting. Focus on one thing at a time. I know, like, when I get clients into tracking, I tell them for an entire week, I just want you to track every day. And I don't want you to change a single lick about your nutrition. I don't want you to focus on a macro set. I just want you to track where you're at. If you get 800 one day, fine. If you get 1200 the next, cool. If you get 3500 the Thursday, fuck it, put it down. I don't care. And I think too, something that like I've even worked with lately, and now this is, I feel like this is for my more advanced fitness girlies and boys. Don't do this if you're a beginner, but I will factor how much caloric intake I have for the week. Because especially there's some days where I get, like, let's say I get 2,500 one day and
Yes.
1,800 the next.
Mm-hmm.
That's in my limit. I'm not like binging 3,200 calories. It's in my limit, but I want to factor that into my entire week. That way I can still remain in my deficit.
Yep.
So a lot of the times, again, the more advanced mindset. This is not something I would put on someone who's only like a year in. This is something that's more like 2.5 to 3 years. I think the fitness industry categorizes you as a beginner at 4 years, an intermediate from 4 to 10, and an expert or advanced from 10 plus. So when it comes to nutrition, especially if you're in that 4 to 6 or even 4 to 10 years, and you're like, fuck, I'm still struggling with my nutrition and being consistent, factor in your entire weekly limit, because that can also help you stay on track as a weekly whole rather than just a daily goal. And that's just something that I usually recommend to like my more experienced people, or people who like do end up like, work 12 hours one day, off the next. Like if you're someone who works like, a nurse, for example, where they work 3 to 4 shifts, 12 hours long, there's a chance that you might not be able to eat. There's a chance that you can stick to your goals, but you might not be able to. Make that be your 1,200 calorie day. Eat a big breakfast, eat a small lunch, eat a good, dinner, right? Get whatever you can. If it's 1,200 to 1,600. But then if your deficit is, higher technically, then get those calories on the days that you are able to prioritize your nutrition a little bit more. So I know that like during the week I work so much that I'll usually hit like I said, like 12 to 16 on a good day. On the days that I'm not working, typically the weekends, I'll make sure that I'm hitting my deficit technically, that I'm not too strict or too, you know what I'm saying? And now if you go over, just fuck it. Just return back to normalcy whenever you can.
Yeah, and I think also it's not necessarily even for people who are super advanced, because, for example, one of my clients, I've talked about her earlier on the podcast, she'll be like, well, I binged this day, I had this many calories, but then I'll take a look at the weekly average, and, I set her weekly, or her daily caloric intake for 2,400, and I remember it was like 23.99 as the weekly average. Like, it's important to look at the big picture, because it's true. Like, even the most disciplined people, the most disciplined bodybuilders in the fucking world who, have their meals scheduled, like everything, we all fuck up. But that's the beautiful thing about fitness, is it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to do a good job the majority of the time, and you will succeed. That was the 7th episode of the Anti-Filter podcast. We talked about binge eating, improving your relationship with food, a bunch of other shit. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could take like 20 seconds, hit the 3 dots at the top, scroll down, rate the podcast 5 stars. We would appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you liked about it. Let us know what you didn't like about it so we can improve the podcast. And I think that's it,
I
babe.
think we nailed it, love.
I think we did. All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. We're going to be talking about it's going to be a long ass episode again. But we love you so much. We hope you have a great week. And that's it. Bye guys.
Bye. Bye.